Welcome to Canada Bangladesh Social Justice Action Research Alliance. We organize critical and courageous conversations about local and global issues connected to equity, fairness, and social justice. We use these conversations to facilitate critical literacy for Bangladeshi students and marginalized communities across the world. Today, we will talk about neoliberal assault in Bangladeshi context, and we have with us Farida Akhter, organizer of Noya Krishi Andolon, and also the executive founder of UBING. If I'm not mistaken, the meaning of this translation in English is Policy Research for Development Alternative. So, thank you so much, madam, for making some time for us. I think there's a sound that I can hear, probably a fan or something.
It's the air condition. Shall I stop it?
It's up to you. মনে হচ্ছে একটা
Yeah, okay.
sound.
Okay, I can. আমি বন্ধ করছি একটু 1 minute.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So sorry about it. Man,
Is it better?
yeah, it's the sound is gone. I know that it's very hot right now in Dhaka. I'm so sorry, madam.
It's okay. Yeah.
As I was saying, is that we use these conversations to facilitate critical literacy in for Bangladeshi students and marginalized communities across the world. To create the compassionate and kind and competent global citizens, the kind of vision Rabindranath Tagore had in his education philosophy. Unfortunately, in Bangladesh, I can tell you as an educator, and probably also in most places in the world, the spaces for critical conversation is not really that rich. So we are hoping that today we can engage in a conversation in a very dialogical manner, in very simple and plain language, so that anybody can understand that what is happening in the agricultural scenario in Bangladesh, and why we have to worry about the neoliberal assault in Bangladeshi context. So with that, thank you very much, Farida Madam, for making some time for us.
Thank you and to all my friends and those who are listening today. This is an opportunity, and I think Firoz is doing a very good job by engaging people into such discussions, which there are not so much scope now, in the mainstream to discuss critically on these issues. So that is also neoliberalism. That is part of the neoliberalism. But I want to start by saying that Bangladesh is a biogeographically unique, biodiversity rich country. We have to get that feeling first. It is situated in a biogeographical terrain from where most of the genetic and biodiverse wealth of the planet has originated, and or it is in the center of origin of diversity, as Nikolai Vavilov in 1920s has described this region. So we are part of this region, and we have to understand that. And it is the delta formed by three mighty rivers. We are Padma, Meghna, Jamuna, and which is flowing to the Bay of Bengal and is bringing alluvium from Himalaya. And so it's creating a country which is biogeographical wonder, and we call it Bangladesh. In Bangla, we say Sujala Shufala Bangladesh. Shosho Shamula, this is in our songs, in our culture, everything. And so in the beginning, I want to get that feeling in me, that I'm not coming from a just poor country or impoverished country. We are rich in diversity. We are rich in biodiversity. So, and unless we are aware of this situation, formation of our country, we use rhetorics produced by the theology of free market, that is neoliberalism. So before I talk about the neoliberal assault, we must first ponder what happens when the economy as a science reduces biology, life forms, natural cycles, food chains, and related complex artifacts of nature into mere objects of economic calculation, into elements of profit and loss. So, economics, by the very nature of its methodology and practice, cannot grasp the reality of life and its biological conditions of existence and regeneration and self-expansion of life. So, in the beginning, I want to say that assault that we are talking about, or we will be talking about more, is embedded in the idea of modernization, transforming the natural and biological world into means and raw materials of an industrial production system. So there are broadly three aspects of modernization as we are looking at: economic, technological, and cultural. So the first point is, when we talk about neoliberal assault, we are indeed talking about a phase in the history of assaults and forms of biological and ecological conditions of living and life practices of various species, including humankind. So economic assault actually did not start just in recently or in last 70 years or 50 years. Actually, it started even in the days of colonialism and continued till today in order, what we call it like capitalism in the form. And in radical language, we call it imperialism because the nature is political and also coercive. So neoliberalism, in contrast, is the phase when we internalize capital and start believing and saying that indeed development, what we get development now, the Bretton Woods institutions are giving us these words, and we believe that this is indeed our progress and not the process of expansion and deepening of capitalist relations. Therefore, we must identify in the very beginning that the idea of development is the most effective ideological assault on the people of Bangladesh and their biological existence. So I really want to set the context with those words. Now, whenever we go outside or we say we are from Bangladesh, we are seen as one of the countries called underdeveloped country or least developed country. And we have to follow the West for economic development. And what did the West do? They destroyed agriculture. There is no agriculture, and even if there is agriculture, it is agro business, or there are no farmers anymore. And so the economic terms in Bangladesh, actually, we were told that the share of industry should be increased in GDP and employment, and it must be higher than agriculture. Before, it used to be really quite high. More than 90% people lived on indirectly or indirectly on agriculture. And what does it mean by increasing the employment in capitalist industrial sector? It implies that the rural economy must be destroyed. So the labor is released and become available in the cities for the capitalists to buy them cheaply from the labor market. And we have seen, because the development view did not see the richness of our agriculture. It just saw it is traditional, backward, fragmented. It is small scale farmers having small land. It is low, it has low productivity, and it is only subsistence. So it cannot produce enough for the nation. But actually, we are still feeding the people of the country. Our small farmers are feeding the people. So in terms of development, this did not see any role of agriculture. Modern development policy assumed that more the agriculture or food production is industrialized, the more agriculture will release surplus labor, as I said before. And these laborers free from farming will gradually migrate to the cities and work in the ready-made garment industries, or even go abroad as not only as skilled labor, but as like slaves. They will be just bodies of labor. And so that's what they see, that how we should proceed. But I want to say that still in Bangladesh, majority of the farming, among the farming household, 84% of the farming household are having land below 1 hectare, and only 14% have like 7 hectares or more, and 9% are called large farmers. So what they are saying, that agriculture will become a large farmers agriculture, that is not going to happen. At least I don't see that. It is the small farmers who will be keeping us alive. It is still, despite the fact that the contribution of agriculture has reduced from 38% in 1990s to now 13.7% in 2018. But still it is providing 40% of employment. So it is no less than the industrial sector still. So what happened with agriculture, we should see that. Actually, we call modern agriculture or green revolution, that started as a World Bank prescription in the early Pakistan period. It was Field Marshal Ayub Khan who started it. And even when we got independent from Pakistan, we did not leave that idea of Ayub Khan and did not say that we don't need modern agriculture. We followed that up, because World Bank was still there with us. McNamara was still prescribing that we have to follow the prescription of boosting, so-called boosting of agriculture production. And they initially supported us with massive fertilizer supply, high-yielding variety seeds of rice. And they trained farmers, and they said they wanted to achieve food self-sufficiency. But I was, even for preparing today, I was looking at the statistics, that if there is any statistics in 1965 or early 70s, that if we had any food shortage, or whether the modern agriculture was based on food shortage, even the famine we had was not because of production shortage, but because of distribution problem. There were still many food lying in the godowns of controlled by the traders. So, and modern agriculture was basically USAID funded, and it started, if you remember, that the Kumilla Academy of Rural Development, which was later called Bangladesh Academy of Rural Development, BARD. And so with US funded and Rockefeller and Ford Foundation, they started village aid program and also the infrastructure development. All the culverts were made, roads were made, the Department of Agriculture Extension was created. And interestingly, if you still look at the documents of Akhter Hamid Khan, who was very good person and was really maybe trying sincerely, but actually was implementing the US agenda in our country, they actually targeted women. They found that through men, they cannot actually achieve what they wanted to achieve for promoting modern agriculture or the seeds. So, and it also came with its twin brother, but I call twin brother, is the population control ideology. Because on the one hand, they said that we need to increase food production. On the other hand, they said we have too many people to feed, so we have to reduce population. And the extensive family planning program was there, a massive number of family planning workers were just going house to house to distribute pills. So it was again a pharmaceutical industry. Their purpose was served. And if you see modern agriculture or green revolution, they were actually depending on inputs like seeds, fertilizer, insecticides, pesticides, machineries like for groundwater extraction, and also credit. So uh, but initially, we used to hear in our childhood, I remember that we used to hear that our farmers are so backward that they did not want to accept modern agriculture or the high yielding variety. They said, no, no, we have our own farmers variety. And in fact, they found that the local varieties they were saving did not, this modern variety did not have much more than that. And also, as you remember, the Erie variety is dwarf. It is short, so it does not have enough straw, but it has more grain. So they only calculated the grain part, but farmer does not only have their own children and themselves, they also keep cows and they need to feed them as well. So the straw from our local varieties actually are used for the as fodder. So with modern variety, they could not do that. So farmers were not happy with that. They did not like, and particularly women did not like the pesticides or the use of groundwater. So I remember talking to women in the village when we started in 1990s, 91, 92. And I said, why don't you like this chemical agriculture? They said, Adhunik Krishi, or they said this iri চাষ, iri ধান, হ্যাঁ, destroyed our body. In Bangla, they said, এটা আমাদের দেহ নষ্ট করেছে. And that was so important for me to understand, because by deho, these women were meaning that it was destroying the entire environment, the soil, water, the environment, their own health, and it was really not helping them. So they really did not like it. So I will let you ask questions a little bit later, but I want to add one more thing. The assault, how it went through women also, they targeted women in this assault, was also the microcredit, the use of microcredit. And that is a neoliberalism category of women, creation of women is a new creation of women who is a poor without any economic assets, and therefore she graduates to become a microcredit recipient because she does not need any collateral payment. So that is very good, so there is no explanation why she lost her productive assets such as land, livestock, as well as her power to command the agrarian production cycle through the control, conservation, and management of seed, livestock, and household food security. So microfinance actually required the ideology of poor and vulnerable women because she lacks the subjectivity to resist the processes of pauperization. She must be protected from her community and linked to the global circulation of interest-bearing money capital. And so this financial capital came in, and it was through women that they could do it and they could show the success. So they also, it was high interest rate that women paid. They could not actually engage in productive activity because of the weekly repayment schedule. So and also what we found that through microcredit by different NGOs like BRAC and ASHA and other organizations, they created a captive market of hybrid seed and for poultry birds. And they said that if you take this microcredit, you have to uh, take these hybrid seeds and also the foreign breed poultry, cattle raising, goat keeping, and so these kind of things. So, and also the effect of modern agriculture was that it was monoculture of rice production alone, um, and that was too much for. We lost other kind of food crops like dal, vegetables. We used to have only 2 seasons of rice before. Now it is 3 seasons. Not Aush is not there anymore, but it is almond and boro. And boro is the season where we used to have most of our vegetable crops and the um, lentils, oilseeds, so which are part of our food.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
I
Okay.
mean, I came with some kind of preparation, and I just did not even think closely about the complexity and all the webs of exploitation that has been.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Faridaba, because the thing is, I grew up in a village. I grew up,
Mm.
growing crops, raising animals, and I came to this conversation with some kind of confidence, thinking like, oh, I can relate to what's happening. But to me it feels like a lot of my understanding of our rural economy, what's going on in Bangladesh, I don't think I really have a handle on most of the things that you have very wonderfully presented. I have got so many questions.
Yeah.
um Starting off, I mean, I grew up admiring the initiative like Bard, that,
Mm.
oh, this is an initiative. And to me, in my head, uh, quote unquote, university educated Bangladeshi, I have some kind of, oh, he's the man who has modernized agriculture, has, brought about. But I've never thought from this eco-feminist perspective what you just have brought about to very crucial point,
Mm.
understanding the link of agriculture and microfinance. Now, how do you even deal with the fact of microfinance and exploiting the vulnerability of particularly women? I don't have that feminist lens. Could you speak more to that? Do you think there has been resistance from Bangladesh, whether from feminist movement or feminist scholars, who have spoken to this particular aspect, that how microfinance through high rate of interest exploiting the social vulnerability of women and paired with factory farming, Western models of farming onto us?
I think in the village, actually, there are silent resistance, but there are no organized resistance. And I think, unfortunately, among our educated class,
Mhm.
like they don't see any problem with modern agriculture because science, they think science is something that we talk about superstition of the rural people, but I think our educated people are also too much superstitious about science. Anything about you just brand it as science and it is perfect. Nothing, you can't even question it,
Mhm.
which I
Mhm.
will talk about later
Mhm.
when we have BT Brinjal and other things. But so with microfinance also, I think people can say there are researchers, there are many researchers from Bangladesh and also from other countries who have done the research and found this problem
Mhm.
with microfinance. And as I'm a direct student of Professor Muhammad Yunus, actually,
Mhm.
and I respect him as my teacher.
Mhm.
And I told him that there are many, these are my observations. And the problem is not only the high interest rate, it is also the whole administration of this microfinance that keeps them away the rural people away from farming activities, because the way the people, if you are cultivating anything, you need to follow a season or a cycle of production. But with every week repayment cycle that you have to pay every week, you can't, even in corona and also lockdown or in a flood, you still have to pay back, pay the installments. So this is a question in a silent question that people are going through. There are very little resistance in the formal section and formal, but people are getting critical of it slowly. And in the villages, although people are still dependent on it, and because there are no other options for them, open to them. So I don't see anything. Unfortunately, the government financing of the agriculture farmers, is still not there. It is, they only give to the landowning farmers, and also if you follow for industrialized agriculture, like if you have poultry farming or dairy farming, so then you will get some loans. So in the absence of this, there is no such thing. So when I talk about Naya Krishi, which I will do soon, I want to say that the Naya Krishi farmers, when they are free from this, that they don't have to pay cash for the input purchase of like fertilizer, seeds, pesticides, then they don't have to take this credit as well. So in a way to resist the microcredit or such coercive forms of financing, then you also have to change the system of farming. So that is one way of getting out of it. Yeah.
Apa, so how and you have brought it exactly. I mean, I definitely am going to do a lot more study after our in future to understand more about it, to understand the complexity and also the global apparatus of exploiting our vulnerable population. Could you tell us a bit about whether it is UBIG or
Ubinig.
UBINIG?
UBINIG, it is Unnayan Bikolpir Niti Nirdharoni Gobeshona.
Oh, okay, UBINIG. So whether it is UBINIG or Noya Krishi Andolon, how did you? I'm sure that you have a lot of experiences working in the field. How did you get involved with it, and what are some of the models that Noya Krishi Andolon actually work?
Okay. How did I get involved in it? I cannot say, because I just got into it. And still I'm learning from our farmers. And I just want to start with this thing, saying I want to start with ecofeminism, how I got into ecofeminism, for example. And I think, people like the feminist movement, we have to declare ourselves whether we want to call ourselves feminist or not, So there are many different brands of feminism as well. But ecofeminism is something that I think you don't have to go with a torchlight in the village to find an ecofeminist farmer. So if they are practicing ecological agriculture, they are all ecofeminist because they are against destruction of environment. They are for the preservation of biodiversity. They are actually understanding that they are part of the nature and not they have to destroy the nature to get their food. So whatever they do, even for food production, agriculture, by its own definition, has to destroy at least something, like have to clean the land and then sow the seeds for food crops. So, but ecological agriculture or biodiversity-based agriculture allows not only food production for ourselves, but also um, uh, that other things can grow. I will show you. Let me start with some pictures, then I will come back to you with it. These are, can you make it bigger, or you want to keep it this size?
This
Okay.
is
Okay.
you can
Okay.
probably, if you make your screen a bit bigger, আপা, তাহলে মানে we can see it more.
How do I do it? Okay. I think this is fine. Okay. Can I? So you have to move the page down.
আপনি যদি, if you move the page, it will move on automatically.
Achha. Okay. Okay. So I want to show that the Nakashi farmers, when we started in the beginning, we thought that we will have to find the alternative of chemical fertilizer, alternative to pesticides. There are a lot of inputs that they use. So maybe we will have to find those alternatives. But the woman said that no, the first thing you have to change is the seed. So if you have local variety seed, you will not need chemical fertilizer. You will, if you have diversity of seeds. For example, this woman, she is having a lot of different varieties of rice seeds, and she is keeping the seeds in these earthen pots. And she, you see all these women are drying different kinds of seeds. And what I'm trying to show is that these women know exactly, they say that the seeds need to be dried. Like they exactly calculate how many sun hours they need to dry. So they call it in Bangla, koto rod lagbe. And in this, and then once a seed is dry enough, they put it between their teeth and they want to hear the sound. And if it gives a right sound, then they start packing it in the pot. So some are kept in the bottles, some are kept in the earthen pot, depending on the need of whether it is they have to be airtight or need some porous. Some are kept as the fruits. So these farmers actually now in Noyakishi since 1992, they are now having this Nakishi Community Seed Well Center. This is the inside picture of this Community Well Center, and where there are at least, this is one portion of it, and where there are at least 3,000 different varieties of rice. And you must, as you come from rural background, and I think many of us have that background, you know that we eat different rice varieties. We do use different rice variety for puffed rice. Some rice varieties are good for pressed rice, chira. Some are good for khoi, the popped rice, and also for different kind of pitas. And for pulao, the aromatic rice is different than the common rice that we eat. So these are the different things that attracted me from the beginning, that it is the seed that we need to keep, and that is something where we have to intervene. And during that time, I was also fortunate enough to come in close contact with many international friends. For example, Vandana Shiva from India, Professor Mariamis in Germany, and you know that Vandana Shiva and Mariamis co-authored Eco-Feminism book, and also Susan Hawthorne in Australia. They all came to Bangladesh also, and we worked together a lot. And Pat Mooney in Canada, from ETC. And there are many groups in Germany and internationally in India, Sri Lanka, Nepal. So we have known each other and learned from each other. So what I would say that I learned from the farmers from our own country, and also learned from the farmers in other countries as well, and also from our friends who have been working on this. So that's what I want to say. And then I want to come to another point, that's why the farmers who keep different varieties. For example, this is Aush rice variety, Bhoira, Kalamanik, Shankoputi, and these are not produced anymore in general because many of them are lost. Our farmers are now cultivating it back, and it's very important that they are growing. But in the meantime, like through microcredit and other process, government process, they started giving out hybrid seed. For example, hybrid seed of vegetables. And I have one picture to show. This is sweet corn. And I am showing this picture mostly because to show that how when it goes into the hands of corporations, what they do, now they have a very nice picture in the front of the crop, okay? But in the back, it says, treated with poison, do not use for food, feed, or oil purpose. But then they are saying for agricultural use only. And then there is another packet where it says, warranty clause, in accordance with the universal custom of all of the seed trade, we give no warranty, expressed or implied, as to description, quality, productivity, or any other matter of any seeds that we sell, or we will not be responsible in any way for the crop results beyond the purchased price, especially under unsuitable season, abnormal natural artificial weather, and unsuitable soil or other unexplained. Just imagine this is written in Bangla also, but the Bangla is even more difficult. Do you think that the farmers will read all this and then buy these seeds from the shop? They just go and buy, and sometimes they are just given. So they are not even, they don't even know that there is no guarantee given, and also that these are poison seeds. So now with the Naya Krishi, what happens is, they do not do monocropping, so they when they cultivate, they with these are small farmers, so they have, like here there are at least 7 to 8 crops during the winter season, and they have already harvested some of the things, and they will harvest some of later. So you can see in different forms they are using the small plot of land they have. The reason I'm also showing you this picture is that in between this, you can there are many other plants which they did not cultivate or they did not plant. So what they will do, these are in modern agricultural language, these are called weed, or that you have to get rid of it. But for Naya Krishi, these are called uncultivated food because there are many shak that you must be familiar with. There are many green leafy edible greens which you can have as food, and poor people have the right to get it and pick it up. But you know what they are doing now? Now they are coming up with this kind of weed and grass killer. This is Monsanto brand Roundup, but there are other glyphosate poison, which just you can give it, and the unwanted green will be taken out. So this is what is very troubling, and also is now poisoning our field and also our greens, and it's not helping us at all. Yeah. Okay. So I will come back to the pictures later.
Yeah. Is this the last picture, Apa?
No, I will show BT Brinjal later on, but
okay.
yeah.
I mean, I'm there's so many things that were going in my head, and particularly this time when I visited Bangladesh. I mean, my cousin, he sells fertilizers and seeds and all of that. And I sat in
Okay.
his store in the village. I am from northern Bangladesh, like Pabna, and in the Bilyan Bhetori, in the midst of so the economy is very dependent on the agriculture. And I sat there and I took the pesticide packets and seed packets one after another, and I was reading at the back, all of that, you just showed, and I was thinking about a very influential essay that made a lot of wave in the 60s when Noam Chomsky has written that the responsibilities of the intellectuals. I think that our intellectuals, our educated communities have betrayed the farmers. Have betrayed. The thing is, how
Thank
would you
you.
understand? How would you understand the complexity? You have said it very beautifully that you read it in English. That's not hard enough already, but you read it in Bangla, that's even more complicated. And
More
this is
come, yes.
deliberate. This is a deliberate effort to keep the farmers in shadow so that they don't understand. And you were talking about, I remember, and I was thinking vivid memory that in growing up in Bangladesh in the village, our women, my mom used to say যে আমাদের বাড়িতে চাল থাকলে, if you have চাল, that's all you have to worry. Go and find out. Me and my siblings, we have gone to the khet and we have foraged shinti shak, kolmi shak, and
Yes.
yeah, and I remember the vivid memory. We would sit
Botua,
down.
botua, botua is very
Yeah,
tasty.
হ্যাঁ, এই যে বতুয়া শাক, সিন্তি শাক, কলমি শাক, and we would go into the, and the thing is, nobody, and the delicious. I mean, the memories that I have, it's very rich, leafy vegetables. Let me take a quick question that is very relevant to our discussion right now. Um, Dilar has asked this question: that what is your thought on the fourth industrial revolution's impact on agriculture? Farmers' skills will no longer be practiced, and they will also not be skilled on machines, especially older people. This is potential threat for farmers. I want to add up to this question that Vandana Shiva's one of the latest publications is that oneness versus 1%, where Vandana Shiva expresses a very serious concern that the convergence of biotechnology, financial technology, and information and communication technology has given these agricultural giants like Monsanto, bears, that they will be able to extract data. I mean, I am doing my PhD at Guelph University, probably the largest agriculture university, technology university in Canada, exactly the same place where Vandana Shiva studied, is that the thing is, we are heading towards a future where farming without farmers. We have very advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, big data, so cloud computing. You have a tractor that is built by Bayer or Monsanto. They are farming on the field and it is harvesting all kinds of ecological data. It is collecting the genetic sequence of our seeds, and lo and behold, I am sure that we should be concerned that tomorrow these companies will say, oh, we have designed this seed. It is our patent right. And therefore, if you are to use this seed, you have to give us royalty. Look at what has happened in India with BT cotton. Now, about what are your thoughts about fourth industrial revolution and how we are heading towards a farming future without farmers?
I hope that doesn't come. That day doesn't come. First,
Yeah.
I don't want to see. At least in my lifetime. But I think I am glad that this question is raised, and I'm sure they are young people, and I think it is really a matter of concern that farming without farmers. Already in United States and in Europe, they have agriculture but no farmers. So it's only 1%. So, for example, in countries like ours, farmers matter as voters also because they constitute a large population. But in other countries, they are really marginal because in numbers, in terms of number, they are reducing. So in Bangladesh also, if you see that the number is reducing with more and more industrial agriculture being promoted, and also destruction of agriculture, farmers are going into non-farm activities. And so initially in our country, it is not seen in a big way yet, but I think with new the agricultural policy that they talk about, there is even no word like farmer. They say contract farmer. So this is a new term, why farmers were always an independent category in population. Why they should be contract farmer under some companies. So that means the farming will be done by companies and they will be contracted to do that. So like the tobacco, for example, the tobacco farmers. Under British American tobacco just contracts some farmers to produce this much of tobacco leaves for them, and then they have no right in terms of deciding whether they want to grow or not, and they have to do exactly the same thing that the company wants them to do. So already tobacco cultivation is doing a lot of harm in Bangladesh, and also farmers are really not able to even come out of it. So I'm really worried about it, and so you named Monsanto and Bayer. Monsanto is no more visible. Bayer has bought it, and but I think we have to talk about Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who are now buying land in USA. What they are going to do with it? This Microsoft company is now buying land in USA to produce. What they are going to produce, they are actually doing patents on many seeds, like from our countries, and taking it there, and maybe they will. They want to have a control over food system globally. They want to target the billion of consumers worldwide, and so we will be just the consumers of the food rather than producer of the food. At present, 70% of food is provided from Europe, America, Africa, Latin America, and Asia. All these small farmers are producing these food crops, but they want that we become consumers of the food rather than the producers, and they will use our seeds. And I think perhaps this, and I think the person who asked the question should also have this information, that we used to have 15,000 varieties of rice, and India has even like 50,000 or more. Asia has 200,000 altogether. Where did all these seeds go? First, it went to IRI, International Rice Research Institute in the Philippines, which is not Philippines place. It is the US. It is near the US base, and then from IRI, it is now in Fort Collins and Fort Knox, which is again a Pentagon establishment. So, and then Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have made this global seed vault. You must be aware of this, which is in Norway under like 30 or some 40 degree Celsius, below the snow. And they are collecting all the seeds from all over the world. And one day, and they call it doomsday vault, that one day we will not have any more seed. And they will come up with saying that, look, we are giving you the seed, or you have to purchase from us. So I think it's not only a question of farm agriculture without farmers. It's also question of losing all our genetic resources, the seeds and everything that I started with, that we have to know that we are from the origin of diversity, but they are targeting us because uh, we are rich in this, and they have to take it away from us. And our
Absolutely,
son,
absolutely.
yes,
Apni,
yeah,
one thing you have mentioned that I think our audience must remember a very important reference. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with Professor Nick Coldry and Ulysses Mejias. Professor Nick
mm,
Coldry's latest book is at the cost of connection, and they actually talk about colonization by data. So
mm,
Coldry's argument is this: is that, and I specifically asked this question about Bangladesh's agriculture. Apa,
mm,
you have mentioned a very important point. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Bill Gates right now is the biggest owner of land in the
mm,
United States. Let us not
yes,
forget. Now, if
yes,
you can sell food as a software, that you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice, because if I don't buy Microsoft or a software, I'm not gonna die. But if I
mm,
don't buy food, and let's
yes,
not forget that the colonial history and the colonial cruelty, it's not the first time the Europeans have used hunger as a weapon for the first time. Yeah, they have used it so many times. I think, Appa, we have a historical
yeah,
amnesia.
mm,
We have a historical
mhm.
amnesia. Think about the
Yes,
Bengal famine. Think about,
yes,
how in the famine of 74, food
mm,
shortage. What was the position of United States? Oh, Bangladesh is not important because we are not militarily significant. Why would
mm,
they even, what you just said, I'm getting goosebumps thinking that Bangladesh had 15,000 varieties
mm.
of seed. The
Rice
concern,
seed, rice alone, rice.
Shudhu rice alone.
Sudu rice and like brinjal. When we had 247 varieties of brinjal.
Oh my God.
From I think you must know that in Pabna, for
Yeah.
example, there is one variety called Adghoria,
Yeah.
or there are many Hajari
Mhm.
and Nayantara in Rangpur. So Bangladesh is so diverse,
Mhm.
So it's a small country, but it is diverse. So the varieties actually come from according to the geoecological conditions
Mhm.
of those areas. So what you will find, the rice varieties that you will find in northern Bengal, for example, in Dinajpur, you will
Mhm.
get more aromatic
Mhm.
rice,
Mhm.
more aromatic varieties, whereas in Khulna, Borishal, you will get more coarse varieties.
Mhm.
And also in Chittagong, saline resistant varieties and the Binni varieties. So in Haur areas,
Mhm.
they have so many different varieties, and the water tolerant, flood resistant varieties, drought resistant varieties. These are there, and still we were surprised after we started Nayakrishi that we thought that we have lost everything, but we started asking farmers, can we have this seed with which we can make pita? Yes, Appa, we can bring it. Then they brought it because they at least cultivate something, and they say, I said, why do you cultivate it even for a small amount? They said, why don't you think that when my son-in-law will come with my daughter once
Mhm.
in a while, so I
Mhm.
will have to make pitas for them. My
Mhm.
grandchildren will come. So
Mhm.
we have many social and cultural occasions that we need this. And so farmers were self-sufficient in
Mhm.
having these varieties, and that's why they still can preserve this. And we could collect from different areas 3,000 varieties,
My
so
goodness.
which is with us, and every year we regenerate some of them. Of course, every all these varieties are not cultivated in large amount or large scale, but as a genetic resource we keep it rolling, by cultivating.
Yeah, this
uh,
is something interesting. Amar kache something that I personally, I'm working with a very inspiring young woman. I don't know if you know her. She finished her undergraduate and master's from Dhaka University, and she has gone
mm,
back to her village in Bogura.
mhm.
And she comes from a very rural background.
Acha.
And what she's doing, she has involved in agriculture in full mode. Like, I mean, I'm so proud of her. Is that, and she was telling me that on a regular basis, she hears from all the neighbors that, oh, you are a graduate of Dhaka University. Why
Mm.
would you want to come to village for farming? So, Appa, I
Yeah.
want to know from you because I mean, I have seen a study, and that's really concerning. That there was a study done in 12 different countries that students, when they graduate from universities or when they go to school and colleges, somehow we have this colonial attitude, its root in colonialism. Is that, oh,
Mm.
ওরা হচ্ছে চাষা ভোষা, মানে ওরা তো গেঁয়ো, right? So the thing is, our attitude towards farming, our attitude towards farming communities in the rural Bangladesh, you have worked extensively. What's happening in us that, what can we do to change your attitude? And what do you think is that we have this hierarchical attitude towards people in farming community, and we are perpetuating this colonial mentality even today?
I think all the people who are reading in the Dhaka University and Chitta University, they should first go to the farmers with like this, saying thank you that they have paid for their education. I think if we cannot do this to our people, many of the students whose parents were farmers and they have paid for their children, and these children, when they became big officers, they denied their parents, that they were farmers. So I think it is a creation of colonial mind, and I think we are, unfortunately, the more educated we become, and with our pant shirt, especially men become more. I'm sorry, I'm attacking the men, but I think with pant shirts, it becomes even more like going away from the farmers, like lungi versus the pant shirts, and also having the wristwatch. Like this is what a village woman told me that with modern agriculture, they started having the wristwatch, and then they forgot the seeds. They started going to the market and cultivated with the poison. So I think the education system, the books, the textbooks, what do they write? Also the picture, Bhadralok with pant shirt and Chashi with lungi. And who wants to be Chashi who is not a Bhadralok? And Chashi as if he is not a Bhadralok. So I think the concept of Bhadralok is very problematic. And that is created by our education system. And, so uh, also with women, I should not say that women are not doing the same thing. When we go, the main problem I face that sometimes I feel that I'm speaking in Bangla to this rural woman, but somehow I feel that she is not understanding me. Although she understands Bangla, it's not that she's from Chittagong or other place where Bangla is very difficult for her. But I think that the way we pose our sentences or the way we ask the question is a very elite way of putting it. It's very non-rural way of asking. So, আপনি কেমন আছেন, ভালো আছেন তো, এরকম না করে যদি আমি গিয়ে ওকে জড়াই ধরি, if I just hug her, that will be much more than the language. So
Exactly.
there are more ways of communication, and we have to learn that. And I think this is has to change. This has to change, and I think people will die of not having access to food. And this time during COVID, but I have seen that people who had good connection with the rural areas
Yes.
could bring food from the rural areas. And also what I saw that when the ready-made garment workers were coming back from their villages, they were having big bags of something. And I was thinking, what is it? But in one webinar of the laborers, ready-made garment workers, I learned that they were actually bringing some rice from their village.
Okay.
which really I found that they still have to have that connection.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
middle class also have that connection, but they think that they in a romantic way that okay, my pita dhan will come, but they don't still respect the farmers as much as they should have done. So I think without respect, they just think that, okay, this is my land, therefore I have to get it. And they get it and they are happy. But I think it's more than that. It should be more than that. Firoz, I think I must talk about Beauty Brinjal because it's one of the important thing that I think it should be part of
Yeah,
today's
absolutely.
conversation.
জি আপা আমি কি শেয়ার
So
করবো তাহলে স্লাইডটা আবার?
now, okay, yes, you can. Um,
হ্যাঁ, বিটি
so
ব্রিঞ্জেল,
now,
আমি বিটি ব্রিঞ্জেলের আগে I want to add something to you is that I shared a resource with you is that in terms of genetically modified food, when you have like places like Cornell, Alliance for Science, where, and this is particularly very critical for us to remember, that I was seeing this presentation by Dr. Sarah Evenegg, where what she did is very clever. She came to the podium and she is saying, when it comes to genetically modified food, I will quote the agriculture minister of Bangladesh, Motia Chaudhary, a woman who has fought for the independence of her country. She has approved Briti Brinjal for the food security for her people. Now, the thing is, she's used a story, an emotional tool, and very cleverly slid in the genetically modified version of a product by Monsanto. Now, please, Appa, speak to that.
okay,
How,
okay,
how
thank
are
you.
you about it?
Thank you for sharing that video. And crop science, crop life, is actually an outfit of Bayer. It's a biotechnology company's front, and its chairman is the CEO of Bayer company. So you can imagine that what she's going to talk about. And also the Cornell University has been in the forefront of the introduction of BT Brinjal. BT Brinjal was basically a USAID initiative with Cornell University. In the back of it, I will show you the pictures. So what I think for the audience today, if they must know, but I just want to share that this is a genetically modified brinjal. 9 varieties from Bangladesh were taken in 2005 without the knowledge of farmers, and Bangladesh Agriculture Research Institute, which is a gene bank of our vegetable crops and everything. So they have actually collected the farmers' varieties there. From that, Monsanto collected 9 varieties and already patented it in their name. So that was done much before its introduction or approval. And it was at that time a three-country project, India, Philippines, and Bangladesh. First, they tried in India because India is a big country with a very large population, and it's also a large population with vegetarian eating people. So brinjal is one of the very good dishes for vegetarians. And Philippines also, they tried there. India, they did not succeed because the environment minister, Jairam Ramesh, he listened to the public hearing, and when they told them that it is going to be potentially exposing potential risks for our local varieties, and he said that okay, there is a moratorium at least for 10 years, that till you prove that this is safe for environment and human health, this will not be approved. So then they moved to Philippines, and Philippines also they did not give the permission on the ground of constitutional rights for preserving environment. Now the only country left was Bangladesh. And during 2013, you remember, if the political situation was too volatile, and there was the opposition was trying to get no election or election, and there was a lot of problems, political problems. And at that time, they applied for the approval in July or August. So as soon as we heard about it, we because we were monitoring it from before, I will just start showing you the um, okay.
এই একই ডকুমেন্টে আপা নাকি অন্য একটা ডকুমেন্টে?
একই
তাহলে
ডকুমেন্ট
স্ক্রল
ওকে
করলে নিচে হয়তো স্ক্রল
ওকে
করলে যেতে পারবেন।
আচ্ছা okay.
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ।
So they these were the four varieties which is called BT Brinjal 1, BT Brinjal 2, and 3 and 4. And they were actually our own local varieties which were inserted with crystal protein gene and a soil bacterium called Bacillus thuringiensis. That's why it is called BT Brinjal. So basically what they were trying to solve the problem of fruit and shoot borer pest, which grows inside the brinjal. And you remember maybe that in the village, sometimes we cut a brinjal and there is a poka coming out of it, and it is, but it is not harmful. You can just throw it away. The rest part is edible.
Yeah, that's what I've seen our moms, our sisters doing.
Yes, they were doing for a long time. But what they are doing with BT Brinjal is that they are making the plant toxic enough so that the poka, the pest, is killed inside the plant itself. So you will see the brinjal without any pest inside, because it dies because of the toxicity of the plant. And so what let me just finish the story of the approval. So when they did, we had many protests. Just let me show you the protests we had in front of the Bangladesh Agriculture Research Institute. The police was called in by Bari, and we were asked to stop it. But still our resistance went on, and a lot of people participated, but we could not stop the approval, because Motia Chaudhry was very serious about it, and she would give it anyway. But now let me show you that this picture, which is very important. Here is USAID. So the BT Brinjal should have been for Bangladeshi people. Now, who are active here? USAID, Cornell University Foundation or something, Cornell University, ABSP, this is a South Asian project, ABSP 2. And only one thing is our government, Krishi department is there, Krishi Gobishna Institute. So this is what they were doing, and they were giving out these seeds to the farmers with signboards, and they were not following any biosafety rules like according to Cartagena Protocol. If you have genetically modified crop, planted, it should have a border so that it does not pollute the other crops near it. And then what we found that the brinjals were actually, this was totally, I'm saying on air and really on record for all of you, that BT Brinjal project in Bangladesh has failed drastically. Like in our local variety brinjals, you will see a lot of pest inside the brinjal or pest on the leaves, but no brinjal will rot like this on the plant itself. But this is the BT Brinjal plants and the brinjals on it, which we could take some pictures there. So that is one thing. And then Motia Chaudhary, in 2013, the way they approved the brinjal was very interesting. Because of some resistance from us, because we even went to the High Court for a writ, although you know that our courts are not so independent to give us the verdict. But we went there. We could at least halt for some time. And so in October, last day of the Parliament, 30th October, they gave it approval. Parliament approved it. And then there was election of 5th of January in 2014. And by 20th January, they gave out the seeds, the plants to the farmers. So Motia Chaudhary was giving out these plants, and you can see that in this, sapling giving ceremony, who are there? So it's not our government's program. This is representing US. Even if these Bangladeshis are there, they're representing the company, or only Motia Chaudhary is there, whom this Sarah is saying that she has done a wonderful job. And that they have created an organization called Farming for Future to actually refute what we are saying in terms of the lies and the failures of it. If you go to our website, www.binic.org, you will see a lot of stories of these failures. And whenever we talked about it, you will see a counter article by some of their people, and in some of our newspapers who are also, corporate, pro-corporate media are there who are doing it. So, and I want to show one thing that they are claiming, as she was saying, that thousands of farmers are taking it. This is recently we took some information from the Department of
Apa,
Agriculture.
when you say she was, you mean Dr. Sarah Ebenik from Cornell University,
Sarah,
right?
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
That I heard that she was saying thousands of farmers are taking it, but farmers are not able to take it from the shops yet, because these BT Brinjal seeds are not sold in the market, open market yet. Bangladesh Agricultural Development Corporation produces some of the seeds, but they told us that they were not able to sell enough. The Department of Agricultural Extension, who were supposed to give free of cost, they have shown that BT Brinjal 1 was total failure, no farmer wanted it. BT Brinjal 3 also was total failure. Farmers, they had imposed on farmers. Second time, they did not take it. BT Brinjal 2 was taken in some areas. The BT Brinjal 4 was only taken by more than once, when the Department of Agricultural Extension officers were able to pursue them. So even if we calculate all these in terms of giving out, not really cultivating successfully, it is not over 5,000 that they could reach out. But they are now claiming it is 27,000 farmers, or farmers are gaining so much in terms of productivity. And you have to remember that BT Brinjal was not made or was not genetically modified for its productivity. It was only made to take care of this pest, which is fruit and shoot borer, so FSB pest. So the increase in productivity will only be calculated that, okay, there will not be any more pest attacks. So these brinjals can be calculated as yield, but that was not a very successful calculation, or
Yeah.
they could not even sell it in the market. They said that, Apa, when we take it to the market, our other brinjals remain fresh for a long time, and beauty brinjals get like very squeeze, or it loses its skin texture very quickly. So the people are not interested, and they are not also supposed to sell without label on it. They have to support in the approval letter. It was told that if they sell it, it has to be sold with a label on it that it is a GMO crop.
এখানে একটা let's bring a point one
Yeah.
in terms of BT Brinjal. I think it's incredibly important for us to contextualize Monsanto's involvement in India, and particularly what's also has been happening. যেমন Dr. Shongitera has asked this question: as part of this conversation, is it possible for Akhtar to reflect on how policies of the Indian government have adversely impacted agricultural structure and processes in Bangladesh? মানে, first of all, farmers are resisting in India regarding secure price security, secure করার ক্ষেত্রে. And let's not forget that, 250,000 people in India have committed suicide because of thanks to Monsanto in terms of BT cotton. And if I want to give it a bit of context, that exactly আপনি যে কথাগুলো এখন বললেন, and I was thinking, oh my god, this is yearly similar to what happened in India. ইন্ডিয়াতে কিন্তু Monsanto wanted to patent নিম গাছ। নিম গাছ আমাদের গাছ।
হলুদ
হ্যাঁ, হ্যাঁ, হলুদ, নিম গাছ, তারপরে হচ্ছে আমাদের বাসমতি চাল, they wanted to patent. And we had to fight, thanks to people like Farad Mazhar, people like you, people like Vandana Shiva, that you are resisting. কিন্তু আমার কথা হচ্ছে আপা, and this is something very important, একজন প্রশ্ন করেছেন already, যে এই যে আমাদের নয়া কৃষি আন্দোলন মুভমেন্ট, এখন বাংলাদেশে যখন একটা ফার্নিচারের একটা অ্যাড তৈরি হয়, কাকলি ফার্নিচার, পুরো পৃথিবী জেনে যায় যে ইত্যাদি ইত্যাদি ইত্যাদি। কিন্তু আমরা যখন আমাদের এক্সিস্টেন্সিয়াল ক্রাইসিস নিয়ে, আপনি যে কথাগুলো বললেন যে দিস ইজ কানেক্টেড টু আওয়ার এক্সিস্টেন্সিয়াল ক্রাইসিস, our kids don't want to go to village, our university graduates don't want to go to farming. There was a study done from my university in 2018. I think you probably know that young man. His name is Tariq. He went to you actually, for his data collection. Is that his graduate research was that why Bangladeshis in the rural areas, what motivates them in terms of doing agriculture work and not agriculture work. I come back to the question of Shongita. Shongita যে কোয়েশ্চেনটা করছে যে ইন্ডিয়ান কনটেক্সটে ফার্মারদের রাইট, হ্যাঁ, how do you think that we relate to it?
Okay, now first of all, I think recently we were doing a study on how the international or the trade even affects our small scale farmers. Let me give you the example of onion. Our farmers in Pabna, I'm sure you know, Shati Upazila is one of the major areas of onion cultivation, and the farmers actually survive on this onion cultivation. But India, on its own, sometimes it decides to stop we can produce like 2.5 million, and our requirement is about 3 million metric tons. Okay, so but instead of trying to increase onion production domestically, our government allows the private importers to import from India, and bringing it from India is easier. And Indian farmers or Indian policy decides, when they want to give it at a lower price or at a higher price, and accordingly it increases, it affects a lot on the price in our country. So similarly on many other, every year during September, October, onion becomes a story. It's sold at 100 taka. But the farmers were telling us this time when we went to talk to them, when they were harvesting, they said, look, they already, the Indian onions are in the market. And if they bring the Indian onions in the market at the harvesting time, the traders who bring the onions to Dhaka market, they don't always buy from us because they call it LC onion, because letter of credit with which they do the import. So they say LC onion comes, and then our onions get had to rot in our own houses. So it really affects with our dal production, with our ginger production, with a lot of crops that our farmers could have been doing it very well in Bangladesh. And in fact, our crops are much better quality in terms of our choice, like the Bangladeshi people's choice. So the domestic needs could have been met easily by not buying from India. But India, I think somehow, I don't understand what our policymakers are doing. They allow Indian policymakers or their government to send their crops or products anytime they want, and they can flood it like the water they do.
Exactly. I was about to say exactly water moto. When they
Water.
flood us when we are already flooded, and they
Oh,
don't give
yes.
us water when we have
Yeah.
maneki bali. It's like your neighboring bully instead of. I mean,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but this is the experience that we have been having with India for, I don't know, for eternity.
Yeah. Yeah.
সো এখন
So, yeah.
ইন্ডিয়াতে যে কথাটা সঙ্গীতা বললো সেটা হচ্ছে যে
Mm.
ইন্ডিয়ান ফার্মার্স এবং ইন্ডিয়ার গভর্নমেন্ট, ইভেন দ্য ইন্ডিয়ান গভর্নমেন্ট ইজ নট caring for the interest of Indian farmers. They are
No, no,
neoliberalizing.
no. Otherwise, there would not have been so much movement for 7 months, altogether. They are still on the streets, and they are not getting the minimum price support.
Yeah.
So, the Indian government is not also pro the farmers. I'm not against the farmers. I'm talking about this trade relation that is happening between our countries, and it's not helping any of them, neither the Indian farmers nor our farmers.
Yeah, and one of the things that we often forget, that we are going through a phase where it's a state capitalism. State uses its violent capacity because state has the legal authority of using violence. আমার কাছে এই জায়গায় নয় কৃষি আন্দোলনের যে কথাটা এই যে একজন বললেন যে নয়া, how do we make নয়া কৃষি আন্দোলন reach a much wider audience so that it contributes in creating the kind of critical consciousness. আপনি একটু আগে ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের কথাটা বললেন। আমার মা, মানে she hasn't gone to school and college, উনি লিখতে পড়তে পারেন না। One day, and because I've become a teacher and I've been teaching for over 20 years, so in school system, what do? You speak in the academic Bangla, প্রাতিষ্ঠানিক বাংলায় কথা বলাটা অভ্যেস হয়ে যায়। One day, my ma said to me, "Talk to me like my son." And it was like 40,000 volt shock for me. And I often say this because I teach
Yes.
the kids in the rural in Bangladesh, very regularly. I say, look, প্রাতিষ্ঠানিক বাংলাটা শেখো, learn English, but never forget the tongue of your mother, because that's how the change happens. নয়া কৃষি আন্দোলনকে কিভাবে, how are we going to take নয়া কৃষি আন্দোলন to every single school doorstep so that it becomes part of our critical consciousness? It's about our existence. What are we going to do about it, Apa?
Now, first of all, I don't want to say that Naikishi is not, we don't want to sell it like a product or a commodity. Yeah? It's the idea, or we have to first love our, as we said, love our mother, love our soil, love our the thing that I started with, that really believe that we are rich in our diversity. We can still make it rich. We don't have to feel that we are dependent on anybody else. We have our own resources. We have to make it happen. So, like Nayakrishi did nothing. Nayakrishi never even paid any farmer. What we did, we respected the farmer's knowledge. We have to. We never said that we will train you. We never train the farmers. We always hold meetings we always had like festivals. And this is one thing, before I forget, I have to tell that in one of the big festivals in which we did in the beginning, there were like 5,000 farmers which we could organize to bring. And our idea was that we will talk about all these things, and they will enjoy, they will sing, and they will say whatever they want. But it was mostly men who were talking. So I went to a woman farmer and I said, please come and you say something. But she never spoke in front of so many people. So I almost grabbed her on the stage and I said, just say one sentence. And what you know what she said? Bonera bij hatchara kore na.
Wow.
And that was like a big uh, thing for all of us. And then later on, we made posters of it. Keep seeds in your hand, bonera seed apnade hate rakhun. And this is so important. You know, she made a thesis of what we have to do for future. She was almost like said, bonera bij hat chhara koren na. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was something. So this is what we have to let them say. We have to create an environment so that people can come up with their knowledge, with their experience, and come up like the mixed cropping I have shown to you. There are so many different ways, and farmers did it on their own, because there are some of the crops, they said that because we are not going to use any chemical pesticide, but we have to repel the pests. So what they did, even though they won't need so much of coriander, they planted coriander in between. So it is the smell of the coriander that will repel the pest. And they also planted some shorisha in between for the color repelling aspect. So they know that this will repel this kind of pest, this will repel this, the smell will matter, and also some of the crops will give good nutrition to the soil, so that the soil is healthy enough to fight with the pest. Because as you know, that if you are healthy, you don't need saline. Will you?
No,
No.
এই তো ঠিক বললেন, কিন্তু আর একটা কোয়েশ্চেন জিজ্ঞেস করি আপনাকে আমি। এই যে বললেন যে ফার্টিলাইজার, কেমিক্যাল কোম্পানি, পেস্টিসাইড কোম্পানি, এখন ধরেন the moments ago I told you about Shumi, you know, who graduated from Dhaka University and then went back to village. Now and what she did, এই যে বললেন না বোনেরা বীজ ছাড়া করেন না, what Shumi did, and it made me, and I'm so proud of her, she went to village, mind you that she comes from absolutely marginalized background. She went back to village. She collaborated with other women in Bogura, ekdom remote village. And what she's doing, she's working to protest and trying to convince the parents, don't force your children to get married. Don't force them on. And what she's doing, she's creating with a kechu shar. কেচু সার করতেছে, এবং ও যত এলোকোয়েন্টলি বলে যে স্যার আমরা আমাদের কৃষি ডেস্ট্রয়েড হয়ে যাচ্ছে when it comes to pesticide, when it comes to chemical fertilizer and all of that, কিন্তু কথা হচ্ছে সুমিকে কে সাপোর্ট করবে? সুমি তো মনস্যান্টো না।
সুমে না, সুমিকে আমরা মানে I think there are many initiatives now, মানে অনেকেই এটা করছে. So what we have to actually collaborate with each other, we have to connect with each other, and Shumi can come to us, you know, like she doesn't have to also, maybe she will not need kechu shar also, like compost, you can make compost out of many other things, you know, or kechu shar is not the only alternative for fertilizer to chemical fertilizer. So basically the idea is to make your soil healthy the way you can. So whatever you can do from other side. So I think there are many Shumis perhaps, and I hope there are many Shumis, and we are willing to work with them. And if they come to us, and I think there are also many other initiatives who would like to support such initiatives. So I think instead of just saying that we have to be known nationally, I think we want to go along with the people who want to take initiatives, and we would like to work with them. The more we can reach out to people, the more we can reach out to farmers, the more we can really increase the number of people practicing ecological agriculture or biodiversity-based agriculture, or increase biodiversity, I think we can really survive. And so I'm not afraid of Bill and Melinda Gates. I'm not afraid of these companies, as long as we can keep seeds in our hands, and we have to really work on it.
ওকে, এখন একটা চ্যালেঞ্জিং কোয়েশ্চেন পোজ করি। When it comes to মানে ফেসিং মনস্যান্টো অথবা গেটস ফাউন্ডেশন, হোয়াট হ্যাভ ইউ, যদি নিম গাছটাকে ওরা সত্যি সাকসেসফুলি পেটেন্ট করে ফেলতে পারতো,
করেছে অলরেডি। There are over 200 patents in different forms. So actually নিম গাছ বলে তো কিছু পেটেন্ট করতে পারবে না। নিম গাছের কোন একটা পার্টিকুলার বৈশিষ্ট্য তারা পেটেন্ট করবে, বুঝছেন? কাজে ওই বৈশিষ্ট্য নিয়ে কথা, কিন্তু পুরো নিম গাছ পেটেন্ট করতে পারবে না। হ্যাঁ, সেজন্য there is, I think, one of the ways to stop the patenting or challenging the patenting is to use more and more, or keep in our practice, so that we can challenge that this was in our knowledge and in our practice for thousands of years, for centuries, and we are doing it. So you did not discover it, or you have not invented it. So what kind of patent you are talking about? So the more we can practice, the more we use neem guts, and we have to challenge them. And also, I think this movement, I don't know if you are aware of it, there was a movement that no patent on life forms. So that was against the patent on any kind of seeds, or even we don't want patent by any farmer on seeds, because seed was not created by any farmer or any company. They can only change its characteristic to some extent, but cannot create a seed. So it's a life form. It's a creation of the nature. So these issues should come up, and we have to talk against patents, but in general. So that is the way we are trying to fight against it.
Absolutely. Now, if I switch for a bit in Marxist interpretation, capitalism to totally কাজ করে. It goes into complete totality. It tries to colonize time, space, and human consciousness. This discussion, is about our existential crisis. আপনি যে কথাটি মাত্র বললেন যে we are not paying attention to the health of the soil. Soil is a living entity. We are not paying attention to the health. আমরা কি করতেছি? We are giving attention to output, যে কত crops হলো, and all of that. Exactly, as a teacher, I can tell you that education, we are doing the same thing. We are not looking at the intellectual capacity of our students, whether they can think critically, whether they can, think about, whether they can build community. We are only after the GPA fight. And, we are seeing what's happening. What is your message right now to Bangladeshi students or marginalized communities across the world whose life is directly connected to the planet and the soil and our food system, that these are the ways we can actually try to stay connected to the soil, to stay connected to the nature, and to resist?
Yes, I think this is what we have been talking about for last 1.5 hours, is actually to connect to the soil, believe in it. First of all, you have to believe and respect that you have come from this soil, and you will go back to this soil, and you are part of the soil, and you're part of the nature. You are not out of the nature, and you will only survive if nature survives. Otherwise, this climate change, you can see that Canada, the way you are burning now, in Canada and in many countries, the way we are facing the catastrophe, climate catastrophe, and so many problems, is because we have destroyed the nature. So first of all, I think my only main message is, please respect your soil, respect your own surroundings and be with it. Don't try to survive outside it, and don't try to create a world of your own. Your mobile phones and all these technologies will not help you to survive. It is only the food and fresh air and your connection, your feet. If you are able to put your feet on the soil, and if there is a durba ghash on it, you will be able to see the world.
এই কোয়েশ্চেনের অ্যান্সারটা কিভাবে দেবো আমরা? How do we meet the food security challenge of feeding about 220 million population by 2050? Can agroecological practices produce enough to feed the population?
This is I did not expect the Malthus ghost will come back, in the end of our discussion, because this is the only way they try to stop us. They told us in the beginning, when we had 7 koti people, only 75 million people, we were told that we cannot feed the people. Now we have 17 million people, still we have the same question. So I think you have to first see that already the small farmers are feeding the people around the world. And even in Bangladesh, the farmers are feeding themselves. They are not coming to you. They are actually feeding themselves. So when it comes to the non-farming or the urban people, who will become a majority, I think by 2050, of course. And I think if you destroy agriculture, even if you have a much lower population, you will not be able to feed the people. If you give it to the corporations, for example, now the UN Food System Summit will happen in November. A pre-summit was already held in July. If you are aware that World Economic Forum has taken over the FAO and World Food Program type of UN bodies, and it is a corporate capture. They are saying that we will be able to feed the people. So while we are talking about that, whether the small farmers are able to feed the people, the corporations with biotechnology and all their technology, they are saying that, okay, don't worry about Malthus, we are able to feed the people. But that is also not true. So I think people are really not having a big families anymore. Nowadays in Bangladesh, there is average of like 3 children per family, and they are actually, if you make them productive, and our population, they are not dependent on like the middle class, that till they become 25-year-old, they cannot give back to their family, return to their family. Our children in the rural areas can support the family by helping with the livestock keeping, or still go to the school, and also in farming, and still. So the education systems should integrate agriculture, and also our food should be based on our own needs, and our farmers will be able to feed you. I can guarantee that if we keep this kind of ecological production, which will save our biodiversity, which will save our climate, and then we will be able to survive. So don't get taken away by the number of people. And this is coming from a very racist and anti-poor, anti-third world country mentality of the developed country, who want to scare the world by saying that we have too many people, and they, as if they are feeding us. So I think this is something we should not be taken away with. We should actually believe that whatever population we have, if we can make our agriculture productive enough with our own biodiversity, with engage our people, as you were saying, that how to engage our people, even the educated people, in the agriculture, I think we will be able to feed the people. And By 2050, I will not be alive, and many of us may not be alive, but I can assure you that this will happen. And the future is ecological agriculture. Future is biodiversity-based agriculture, not modern agriculture, not chemical agriculture, not biotechnology.
Dr. Naomi Shirin from Asian University of Women, উনি যে কোয়েশ্চেনটা করেছেন, is it possible to develop self-sustainable organizations for self-sustainable organizations এর কথা উনি বলছেন for organic farming? What needs to be done for that?
What does she mean, you think, by self-sustainable organizations?
আমার মনে হয় এই কোয়েশ্চেনটার সাথে এই ইমনের কোয়েশ্চেনটা কানেক্টেড, যে বেসিক্যালি কৃষকেরা তো তাদের ফসলের সঠিক মূল্য পায় না। কৃষক যেন তার ফসলের সঠিক মূল্য পায়, সেজন্য তাদের কি পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করা উচিত? একজন ফার্মার যেটা প্রোডিউস করছে সেই দাম যদি সে ন্যায্য দাম না পায়,
এখানেই সমস্যা। এই জায়গাতে আসলে আমাদের কাজ করতে হবে। আমি দেখছি যে কৃষকদের উৎপাদনের সমস্যা নাই, কৃষকদের নলেজের সমস্যা নাই। The problem they get, just you let the farmers go to the market as if market will play its role. And so when there is bumper crop, in fact, people earn less than they are supposed to. Farmers earn better when there is less shortage, in fact. So I think this is not fair. I think we need to have fair price or guaranteed price for the farmers, and by which, and I think this should be a movement by the consumers, the urban people as well. We as the consumers pay 10 times more than what it is sold at the farmer's place. The traders, the middlemen in between, they buy at 2 taka, sell at 20 taka, and so the consumers also lose and the farmers also lose. I think if there is a system of minimum price guarantee for the farmers, farmers will be able to cultivate more and more. And with like the tomatoes, there is always a problem with tomatoes. There is always a problem with potatoes, and even brinjals, and many crops that farmers sometimes don't even harvest it because they won't get any price in the market. So this is, you have really, I'm very glad that এই প্রশ্নটা করেছেন, যে কৃষক যদি দাম না পায়, কৃষকের দাম পাওয়ার জন্য আমাদেরকে সরকারের কাছে যেভাবেই হোক আমাদের এই এই ব্যবস্থাটা করতে হবে, যে মার্কেট প্রাইস যেন কৃষকরা পায়, তার উৎপাদনের যে খরচ এবং তার চলার মতো করে যে খরচ, আপনি যদি এটা ইনশিওর করতে পারে, দে উইল রিয়েলি সার্ভাইভ. So I'm glad that this question is raised. At this moment, I do not have answer, but I'm committing myself, and along with others, that this is what is one of our struggles and movement nowadays.
আচ্ছা। সো আপনি একটু আগে বললেন যে স্কুল কলেজে এডুকেশনের ভিতরে ফার্মিংটাকে ইন্টিগ্রেট করতে হবে। ইন আমেরিকা, কানাডাতে না হলেও আমেরিকাতে ডেফিনেটলি সেটা হচ্ছে যে they have a thing called farming field school. The field itself has become school. আমাদের পড়াশোনা তো রবীন্দ্রনাথ has did his best and has written extensively on about it, যে how education needs to be connected to our life. This is my last question to you. There are so many things, I definitely would like to follow up with the second conversation, because Apa, this is probably one of the ways আমাদের এই conversationটা will be used for in students in Bangladesh to hear, to actually develop idea, to actually think, because most of our students are from villages.
Now, what did you ask? I just was thinking.
আমেরিকাতে there are farm field school.
Okay.
না, farmer বাংলাদেশে কি হচ্ছে? বাংলাদেশে হওয়া কি সম্ভব?
না, বাংলাদেশে হচ্ছে এভাবে যে ফার্মারদের নিয়ে ফার্মার ফিল্ড স্কুল হচ্ছে, কিন্তু স্টুডেন্টদেরকে নিয়ে ফার্মার ফিল্ড স্কুল হচ্ছে না। কেউ হয়তো ছুটির দিনে গিয়ে কোনো ইকোলজিক্যাল ফার্মিং ইয়েতে যাচ্ছে, কিন্তু আসলে এখন হচ্ছে না, কিন্তু এটা করা উচিত। তবে কিছু ইউনিভার্সিটিজ আছে যারা হয়তো তাদের স্টুডেন্টদেরকে স্টাডি ট্যুর হিসেবে নিচ্ছে। We get a lot of students from Japan to visit our farms, to learn from it. We get students from Germany to, when they hear about Neokrishi. But we also get from some private universities or some like Jahangirnagar University, from the environment department or from sociology department. When they are interested, they come. But these are only like study tours or a 1 day or 2 day visit. But it's not like a session or a course that we can have with the farmers. And I think that should be started. And we are very much willing to do that. We have the infrastructure to do that. And if anybody is interested, we don't mind, even if it is very few students in the beginning, we don't mind to start with. But we would do anything to reach out to the students because
নয়াকৃষি আন্দোলনের সরি আপা, এই আপনি বলি ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচারের কথাটা বললেন, আই এম সরি আমি আপনাকে বলেছিলাম, বাট দিস ইজ সামথিং। এই মুহূর্তে নয়াকৃষি আন্দোলনের কার্যক্রম প্রসার মানে কোন কোন জায়গায় কাজ করছে, এবং হাউ হোয়াট ডু ইউ মিন বাই যে আপনি যখন আমাদেরকে বললেন যে ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচার আছে বা কার্যক্রম আছে, এটা যদি আমাদেরকে একটু বলতেন যে হাউ টু মেক ইট মানে নোন টু দ্য পিপল।
আচ্ছা, আমি বাংলায় বলি এটা।
শিওর, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
আচ্ছা, সেটা হলো যে আমাদের টাঙ্গাইল এবং পাবনা, ঈশ্বরদীতে আছে, আমাদের কুষ্টিয়াতে আছে। এগুলি আমাদের, আমরা বলি এটাকে কেন্দ্র, মানে আমরা অথবা বলি বিদ্যাঘর। হ্যাঁ, যেমন লার্নিং প্লেসেস, আমরা কোনো এটার নাম ওভাবে রেখেছি। কারণ আপনি যদি গাড়ি থেকে নেমেই ঢোকেন, আপনি আশেপাশে দেখতে থাকলে ইউ উইল স্টার্ট লার্নিং। গাছের নাম দেখবেন, বীজ ঘরে যাবেন, গরু ছাগল দেখবেন, সবকিছু মানে আপনাকে না বলে শেখাতে পারবে আর কি। তো টাঙ্গাইলে যেটা আমাদের আছে, ওখানে থাকার ফ্যাসিলিটিও আছে। প্রায় 30-40 জন একসাথে, মানে যতদিন ইচ্ছা তারা থাকতে পারবে। ওখানে শেয়ার্ড রুম আছে, এবং সেটাকে আমি বলছি যে আমাদের ফিজিক্যাল ফ্যাসিলিটি গুলো আছে। এবং আপনার আধুনিক ভাবেও যদি আমাদের যত টেকনোলজিক্যাল ডিভাইস গুলো আছে, মাল্টিমিডিয়া দিয়ে হোক, কিন্তু মোর ইম্পর্টেন্টলি আমাদের কৃষকদের গ্রাম আছে, যেখানে তারা যেতে পারবেন এবং সেখানে গিয়ে তারা কথা বলতে পারবেন। তো সেগুলো মানে আমাদের এই নেটওয়ার্কটা কৃষকদের সাথে খুব ভালো। যেমন টাঙ্গাইলে আমাদের প্রায় 80-90 হাজার কৃষক পরিবারের সাথে সম্পর্ক আছে। তো যে ধরনের কৃষকের বাড়িতে যেতে চান বা ইয়ে যেতে চান, আমরা সে ব্যবস্থা করতে পারবো। এটাকে কোনো মৌসুম ধরে করা যায়, তবে যেমন শীতকালে বেশি সহজ বৃষ্টি টিষ্টি থাকে না বলে ইয়ে হয়। আর পাবনাতে যেটা আছে ঈশ্বরদী, সেখানে একটু ছোট, কিন্তু ওখানে দেখার অনেক জিনিস আছে। ওখানে ধরেন 9-10 জন এট এ টাইম থাকতে পারবে। আর যদি রাতে থাকার না হয়, তাহলে 30-40 জনও একটা সেশন করতে পারবে, যদি তারা নিজেরা থাকার ব্যবস্থা করতে পারে আর কি। আমাদের নিজস্ব প্রেমিসের ভিতরে 9-10 জন থাকতে পারবে। কুষ্টিয়াতেও আছে, যেটার সাথে আমাদের কালচারাল অ্যাক্টিভিটিস গুলো যুক্ত, লালন সাইজির গান এবং কৃষি। আমরা ওখানে ফকির লালন সাইয়ের যে 2 বছরে অনুষ্ঠান হয়, দোল এবং কার্তিক, সেই সময় আমরা করি কি বীজের মেলা করি। এবং বীজের মেলা করলে তখন যারা আসে তারা এই বীজ সম্পর্কে শেখে। আমরা বলি যে আপনারা যদি লালনের গানই গাইবেন আর ওদিকে কীটনাশক দিয়ে মারবেন, তাহলে কিসের লালনের গান গাওয়া। তো আমরা ওভাবে লিঙ্ক করে ওদেরকে যখন বোঝাই, ওরা কিন্তু খুব বোঝে, মানে সব ধরনের লোকরাই আসে। এই নানা ভাবে আমরা মানে এইগুলো চালিয়ে যাচ্ছি, খুব ফর্মালি না হলেও আমরা চালিয়ে যাচ্ছি।
জার্মানিতে তো স্কুল আছে এরকম, এবং আমি কানাডাতে আছে, সেটা হচ্ছে যে বাচ্চারা স্কুলে যায়, ওদের পড়াশোনাটা হচ্ছে একটা গাছ জন্মানো, ওদের পড়াশোনাটা সবজি চাষ করা। কারণ ওর ভেতরে এমন কোনো সায়েন্স নাই যেটা আপনি শিখতে পারবেন না। ইউ ওয়ান্ট টু টিচ দেম ফিজিক্স, কেমিস্ট্রি, বায়োলজি, হোয়াট হ্যাভ ইউ। তবে এখানে যেটা সুবিধা সেটা হচ্ছে ক্যানাডাতে যারা খুব ওয়েলথি কিংবা যাদের টাকা পয়সা আছে, তারা তাদের ছেলে মেয়েদেরকে অল্টারনেটিভ স্কুলে পাঠায়। সেখানে গিয়ে তারা ওই আপনার ওই গাছের, টমেটো গাছের ভেতর দিয়ে আপনার কোয়ান্টাম ফিজিক্স শিখছে। তো ওই ধরনের ট্রেন্ড টিচার আছে। কিন্তু কুষ্টিয়াতে কিংবা বাংলাদেশে আমি মনে করি না যে এটা আমাদের সাধ্যের বাইরে। আমাদের যদি ইচ্ছে থাকে, আমাদের সাধ্যের বাইরে। এরকম স্কুল করার কি চিন্তা করা যায়?
If you learn in the beginning to learn from the farmers, হ্যাঁ, মানে আমাকে কৃষকের ভাষা থেকে কৃষক যেভাবে ব্যাখ্যা করে সেভাবে শেখা। যেমন কৃষক বলল যে, আমি বললাম যে আপনি বীজ শুকাচ্ছে, বীজ যে শুকালো সেটা কি দিয়ে মেপে বললেন? ও বললো যে আমি দাঁতের ফাঁক দিয়ে একটা কামড় দিই, ওটা ঠক করে শব্দ হলে আমি বুঝতে পারি ওই আওয়াজটা দিয়ে যে শুকিয়ে গেছে। তাহলে ওই ভাষাটা আগে আপনি শেখেন, পরে আপনি এটাকে সায়েন্টিফিক ইয়ে দিয়ে মেজার করেন। তাহলে কৃষকের ভাষাটা, যেমন কৃষক মাটিতে আঙ্গুল দিয়ে বলবে যে এটা যথেষ্ট নরম আছে কিনা, যেখানে বীজটা দেয়া যাবে কিনা, এখানে ওই লাউ গাছটা এখানে লাগালে ভালো হবে না ওখানে লাগালে ভালো হবে, ধানের বীজটা কি উঁচু জমিতে কোনটা লাগালে ভালো হবে, কোনটা নিচু জমিতে লাগালে ভালো হবে, এই যে জানার যে বিভিন্ন সূক্ষ্ম নলেজ, মানে ডিটেইল নলেজটা, এটা শেখার একটা পদ্ধতি আমাদেরকে তৈরি করতে হবে, এবং এটা খুব নীরবেই অবজার্ভ করে এবং ওদের কথাটা শুনে আমাদেরকে শিখতে হবে। তারপর আমাদের এখানে সায়েন্টিস্টরাও খুব ভালো আছেন, অনেক বোটানিস্ট আছেন, অনেক এগ্রিকালচার সায়েন্টিস্ট আছেন, একজন আমাদের সাথেও কাজ করেন, এবং আপনি জানেন যে ফরহাদ মাসান নিজেও এই নিয়ে অনেক কাজ করেন। যেমন উনি তখন হয়তো ওনারা আরো ব্যাখ্যা করে দিতে পারেন কৃষকের কথাটা, এবার স্টুডেন্টদেরকে তাদের মতো করে বোঝাবার মতো করে বোঝাতে পারে। তো কাজে সায়েন্সকে ইন্টিগ্রেট করা যায় ফার্মার্স নলেজ, এবং আমরা কিন্তু এটার বিপক্ষে টু categorize science as formal science and farmer science. The science is only one. Science is science. So when you get the knowledge from a farmer, it is not farmer science and something is modern science, or it is, we can only say that there can be science which can be used for bad purposes, like atom bomber science to science chilo. Biotechnology used in for corporate interest is bad science, but biotechnology can also be used for good purposes. And so these are different ways of learning. So I think we can, at this stage, we have a lot of scientists in Naya Krishi, like we have people like Farhad Mazhar and other people who are here. We can really integrate these two knowledges and translate into one another. And then I think that education is possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Farida Apa. There are so many things that, I want to ask you more. And in future, probably another conversation, if time permits you, particularly understanding what we need to do to involve more women in educating us when it comes to education that is for life. It has been well documented and researched that capitalism is an anti-life system. It does not care about the sustainability of people and the planet. It only wants to produce profit, and what happens in the process is, that gets discounted.
And capitalism is patriarchal as well, so yes, it's anti-woman. So.
Yes, yeah, and it's also colonialist. It's also, hierarchical. It's also, anti-life, and patriarchy is not. You're absolutely right about. কিন্তু আপনি যে কথা আজকে বললেন যে ওই ভদ্রমহিলা কৃষক নারী উনি যে বললেন যে বীজটা হাতছাড়া করেন না, one sentence pithy but good enough to her leave in the midst of like in reflection to understand how we have to think about nature. আপনাকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ, and we want you to talk to us more and share your knowledge so that, because we can use this digital platform for educating millions of Bangladeshi students to think critically about our ecology and about our farming practices, about the wealth of our own nature. Thank you very much for giving us some time, Apa.
Thank you for allowing me to talk about it. Yes.
Yeah, I will definitely get in touch with you to know more about Naya Krishi and see that what actually I can do as a teacher, that how that can be incorporated in other schools. So I'll get in touch with you. Bhalo thakben, Appa.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bhalo thakben.
Bye.